the Dragon Steamboat has won the world title.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sting.
A flying elbow, hooks the leg, it's over.
Boyhood dream has come true. Oh, coach Steve Austin. Austin has it out. Austin is unconscious. Austin never gave up.
Well, the first thing you gotta realize, brother, is this right here is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
And welcome to the Undisputed. Nat Garofalo here alongside good old Ralph Lark. What do you think of the intro music there, Ralph?
Loved it. Who doesn't love a little Razor Ramon in their lives?
Hey, yo. Hey, Chico, it's me, the bad guy.
He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I loved it. He was oozing machismo, and I loved it.
Like, I don't even know if that's even, before he started saying that, I don't even know if that was even a thing. Like, you and I now perfectly understand what oozing machismo means. It means Razor Ramon, his gold chains, and the ridiculously hairy chest, the long greasy hair, and that's oozing machismo. I get it.
I think as I got older, then I start to understand the whole play on, Scarface and all that. But I like it. Very nice intro. Good pick.
And there was a reason behind my pick, and we'll get into that a little bit later when we start to break down what's coming up this weekend, which is SummerSlam, one of the big four pay-per-views throughout the year, one of my favorites. It's always been a fun pay-per-view with matches that tend to be, I don't want to say sleepers, but everyone always goes to, WrestleMania and, sometimes Royal Rumble for those big, matches of yesteryear and so on and so forth. And sometimes I think SummerSlam gets kind of swept under the rug and forgotten about a little bit, but there's some phenomenal matches of all time matches that took place at SummerSlam.
I'd agree.
But we'll be getting there in just a little bit. We're going to kick off today's show the same way that we kicked off last week, which is a recap of Monday Night Raw. And I must say, I was a little surprised with how Raw started off on Monday. Started off with not your main eventer for SummerSlam from your show. You would think that the show would have started with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor and the Universal, what is to be the Universal title. But no, they started with Rusev and Roman Reigns. I was a little skeptical going in. The segment between Roman, Rusev, Lana, Foley, the whole thing actually worked out pretty well for me. I dug it. And then the match later on in the night, I think they overperformed in that match. They for me, they exceeded expectations.
Well, I don't have first of all, let me just say that I don't have an issue with the fact that they had such a great match right on the heels of SummerSlam. But what is interesting to me is you've also got Cesaro and Sheamus going into, a best of 7 now? So
something like that,
the repetitive nature of the same guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like it was overdone, I thought. Maybe there's another way, or maybe there wasn't another way to actually bring some more heat for this match. Maybe they needed it as kind of a preview of what you're going to get at SummerSlam to kind of move it along, because you hear it's a cat and mouse game right now. It's chess. The WWE is doing their best to position Roman Reigns a certain way.
They really are.
And the crowd is doing their best to resist it. So, I mean, at moments you hear them kind of chanting Roman, but at other moments they're just kind of like chanting against both of them.
And,
so
and you kind of brought it up, to the crowd's credit. They're trying, for lack of a better term.
Correct.
More so than when Roman was in the world title picture. I think the majority of the angst that comes from the WWE Universe fans towards Roman is they see what's coming down the road. They see Super Cena 2.0.
Anytime you have somebody shoved directly in your face like that, it undermines the position that the universe believes that they play, because they do play. I mean, the universe is a very big interactive part of the wrestling world. So when you have somebody like that they have overtly disapproved of, I guess you could say, or don't want to see in that spot, I mean, there's going to be tension there, but it takes a big kind of character athlete to embrace that, go through that. I think the whole "I am just the guy" thing is a nice tit for tat with what he's doing with the crowd now, and I enjoyed it too. It's not necessarily the strongest story ever. Like, I don't really get into stories around the chick, but when you go back, they're always, there's a little bit of heat there. I mean, it's kind of like it just falls into this realm to me of like, the whole Miss Elizabeth thing with Macho Man. I mean, you could even go Deborah, in WCW, the whole angle with her and Jeff Jarrett and Steve Mongo McMichael. So it's falling into that for me. But it's okay as long as they bring the action, and Lana's easy to look at, so I don't think anybody's complaining about that aspect of the story.
And you brought up the base of the feud between Rusev and Roman Reigns and how it kind of centers around Lana a little bit, but for me, I get the storyline in general. Okay, we got Rusev, we got him and Lana, who were just recently married. They're celebrating their marriage on Raw. Obviously, some sort of antagonist person is going to interrupt this and create an issue. The selection of Roman Reigns in that scenario is not surprising to me. I would have gone with somebody with a little bit more, I don't want to say comedic. I would have gone with a Jericho type. Because Jericho would have played that off like a champ.
And we talked about this before. They don't have a lot of guys that are just amazing with the microphone. So the story can be carried with minimal effort by these two guys. But they're learning, and it has been a good experience in terms of a storyline for both of them. I think Rusev, this is the most we've kind of heard him on the microphone. And, it's at this point I'm willing to suspend belief and get into the story a little bit.
For sure. And the match between those two was awesome. This is one of the best matches I've seen from Rusev since his earlier programs with John Cena. He put on a heck of a show, and so did Roman Reigns. This was probably, in my opinion, my favorite Roman Reigns match since he faced off with Randy Orton before Randy Orton went away for a little while.
Yeah, so I'm starting to kind of, in my opinion, see where I'm going to put Roman Reigns. And while I don't think he takes the most punishment, I think that'll always be reserved for somebody like Tommy Dreamer. But I do think that he sells, and we talked about this before. Randy Savage could sell a beating. Bret Hart could sell a beating. I'm starting to see that Roman Reigns can sell a beating. I wasn't necessarily overly impressed by the match itself, but the sell was there.
And that might have been what impressed me about it, was that I was caught into the ooh, look, they're really beating the crap out of each other.
Oh yeah, it was the feel was there, the vibe was there, and it was the excitement that part of the card needed heading into SummerSlam. I wonder if it was almost like a backs against the wall thing, where it's like, what else are we gonna do to build some excitement here?
For sure. My only downgrade of the match was the fact that, and I know this is standard heel versus face mathematics but Rusev was literally throwing everything and the kitchen sink over at Roman Reigns.
Sure,
couldn't put him away for the life of him. One spear from Roman and it's game over. It's like for me, that's one of the most frustrating things, because I've always attributed that type of person to somebody like the Undertaker, a supernatural character who, he's got these supernatural powers, and you're going to throw diamond cutters and super kicks and RKOs and whatever you want at the guy, and he's going to keep sitting up. That's the Undertaker. That's Kane. That's was Giant Gonzalez back in the day in WrestleMania 9. Roman Reigns is not a supernatural character. He's a former spec ops, in-ring guy, and all of a sudden he just keeps coming back.
Well, it's true to who they've made him out to be, because he did this with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, right? I mean, he had trouble putting him away. So, again, it lends itself to my understanding of what his in-ring work will be. You know what I mean? What his in-ring contribution will be. I think he can sell a beating. And I hope he gets the opportunity to sell many more beatings.
It's just got me concerned with the guys he's going to be going up against for world titles, U.S. titles, universal titles, what have you, that he, like a lot of fans accuse Cena, that he might, on his way to the top, damage other wrestlers' brands, and that's never a good thing.
Well, I understand where you're going with that, but if you were to go back and take a look at it, I mean, it wasn't just like your regular Monday Night Raw spear, in my opinion. I mean, he got him good.
Mm-hmm.
And the momentum was there to where when it happened, I'm like, okay, this could be it. I mean, it was the way to end the match, I thought. I didn't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with multiple finishers.
Mm-hmm.
I am, kind of old school like that, where once he gets his finisher, boom, that should be it,
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, truthfully and honestly, it was around the Attitude era, where we started to get away from that. You had like Stone Cold and The Rock, 3, 4, 5 stunners, 4 rock bottoms. Yep. I mean, and that kind of transitioned the way a match plays out and what it means to have that finish move. Mm-hmm. I think it should be something that's done once and you should be out. That's what all the other setup moves are for.
Right.
That's what your secondary move, your signature move versus your finish move, all that stuff. And
I'm on the same page with you as far as that. For me, like, finisher kickouts were always a special thing.
Yep.
This,
WrestleMania.
right. This wasn't a finisher kickout, but it kind of is in the same guise. I forget what pay-per-view it was at. It might have been Survivor Series, or SummerSlam. It was Bret Hart versus Diesel. Diesel was just laying into Bret, as you said. Just he could sell a beating. He's just beating the crap out of Bret, and he's getting ready to put him away with the jackknife. Picks him up, whoop, small package, 1, 2, 3, New World Champ. Like the counter finisher, the finisher kick out was always a special moment because 7, 8, 9 times out of 10 the finisher put away people. And furthermore, for me, why I agree with you is that in those matches where that one finisher didn't work and didn't put the guy away, the match continued. Mm-hmm. If the person who executed their finisher first did not win successfully with the finisher, down the road, he would win with like some random, catch German suplex, bam, 1, 2, 3. He snatches the victory from the jaws of defeat, kind of thing.
Sure,
doesn't necessarily have to use his finisher again, and that's the thing is like, John Cena is the king of the finisher kickout, right? So he'd get hit with let's use Shawn Michaels. He'll get hit with a super kick, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, kick out, and later on he gets hit with a super kick and it's game over. It's like, he doesn't have to beat you with the super kick that second time. Do the elbow off the top. Do something.
Sure.
Because you've already exhausted that finisher,
Well, yes, I agree with you, but I also think that the new video games that they've been making really spell it out a little bit easier than you can see when you're just watching. I mean, the correlation of moves, right? Like your move set versus your signature move versus your special move, if you will. And like when you're playing those games, like maybe he kicks out when you with your signature move, maybe he kicks out with your special move, but like he's almost completed after that. I mean, he's very much depleted, and the match is nearly almost over because you got that move off at some point. So, to your point, you shouldn't need it again, but certainly if you do hit it again, it should just be done. It should be a done story.
Right.
I think we're venturing into territory that I was hoping to kind of get into a little bit with talking about Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, just because the way the story is set up, I'm envisioning a lot of RKOs.
Okay, it's probably one of those situations where it'll be multiple RKOs and probably 1 or 2 F5s. It's going to be, finisher porn, essentially.
That's a very good way to put it. Wow. I love it.
You're gonna have F5. You're gonna RKO. It's just gonna keep going. A punt. It's just gonna keep going and going with finisher after finisher after finisher, and everyone's kicking out.
Just when I thought I couldn't get more excited for SummerSlam, there you go.
But we'll get into SummerSlam in a little bit. Also on Monday Night Raw, you started to bring up Sheamus a little bit. He faced off against Sami Zayn, which was shortly after the Roman Reigns-Rusev kickoff. Obviously, Cesaro decided to get involved in this because of their program and cost Sheamus the match. Me personally, and this, I'm not even telling a lie. This is straight up truth. Okay, this match was my shower match. I took took a shower.
Okay.
So, I'm not playing with you. Went up and took a shower. And it has nothing to do with Sami Zayn.
Sure.
It has to do with his opponent.
Sure.
I can't stand Sheamus. Can't stand him.
So, Sheamus has been around a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see. Well, I understand the appeal for some people. I'm not like necessarily against Sheamus, but I'm not like super excited when I see a match. But I think the influx of new talent, it works well for somebody like Sheamus, in my opinion, at least, or at least for why I'm watching wrestling, because I love a new matchup. So I did pay a little more attention to it because I do like Sami Zayn, and I'm hoping maybe here's a good pairing for Sheamus. You know what I mean? Just something that'll work for him.
Right.
But I like the idea that we have new chemistry in there, that we could try some things out. I will admit to you, I'm not excited about a best-of-7 series with Sheamus and Cesaro.
Is that really where we're at? It's best of 7?
Isn't that what?
Is that how they're playing it for SummerSlam?
It's the first of a best of 7. Is what
it's
Mick
starting
Foley,
just now
at SummerSlam.
Come on,
is
man.
what Mick Foley said.
Come on, man.
So
it's got to finish at SummerSlam. Right? Come on.
So it's kind of like I'm trying to extend as much leeway to them as possible, and just saying, okay, they're gonna go somewhere cool with it. I can't see it, but no part of me is excited for what I'm presuming will be 7 entire matches. Now maybe we get a squash here or there or something like that. Somebody gets, beat up on the way to the ring. But
you're right. I just pulled up the card on WWE's website.
Yeah.
Cesaro versus Sheamus kickoff match. God bless it. Come on, Vince.
That's a lot of Sheamus, but we'll see.
Sorry.
We'll see. I love Cesaro, but if I have to see any more of those running uppercuts, because that's like all you can do with Sheamus, you know what I mean? It's getting over.
And here, though, I love the best of 7 concept, and I love half of the people involved.
Let me pause you right there. Quick answer: your favorite best of 7 series?
Didn't Booker T have one with somebody way back in the day?
You know what? You're actually probably talking about what I was gonna name to you, which was my favorite was the Booker T and Chris Benoit best of 7 series. That was fantastic. To your point, it was done over Monday Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it didn't get too stale to where it's like, oh, here they come again. I mean, they brought it for 7 matches.
Right. Those are 2 guys that can go. I mean, and that's the thing is that Sheamus is one-dimensional. He's a great athlete, but he's one-dimensional.
Right.
Cesaro, he's a phenomenal athlete, great in-ring performer. I think he has the potential of being this era's Benoit minus the later issues, hopefully.
Well, do you think that with Sheamus it's more of an issue of, like, he's a good athlete, but maybe just not a good wrestler? Like, based on his background, like, do you think this is a paycheck? I guess is what I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
I think he's a good wrestler, but he has to be aware of what his identity of a wrestler is.
Okay.
He thinks he's a Cesaro type that can go like Cesaro goes, but his build, his presence is more of just a bruiser type. Like,
so you don't think it has to do with like matchups at all? Because I don't think he gets matched up properly.
I agree.
Which is why I like the Sami Zayn match.
I agree. He doesn't get matched up properly because when you got a big versus a big, and one big can go better than the other big, it doesn't work out well for the second one. And
it becomes very obvious what's going on really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
But I would like a Cesaro best of 7 with like a Dolph Ziggler or a Sami Zayn, since he was brought up in this match, or even a Kevin Owens. But I think Cesaro would be extremely entertaining in a best of 7, just not with Sheamus.
I would probably table a best of 7 for anybody right now, just because because I just don't. I'd like to see it formatted somehow better, more exciting, maybe different matches. You know what I mean? The first one's a 1-on-1, the second one's submission, only, or third one's no DQ. I don't know, but I would kind of come back to that idea and see how we would, make it a little more exciting than it is.
Also on Raw, we had Dudley Boys versus the New Day.
Okay.
I love Bubba Ray. He's my favorite.
I also suspect that it's a generational thing. So
for me,
well, for us, for our generation, I don't think the young folks are digging it as much as we are.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't think that's the case. I think they're just looked at as over the hill attitude era
Oh,
guys.
I don't even mean his in-ring performance, just as an entertainer. He's freaking hilarious.
I would hope that they would think so, but I just wonder. I
mean, I think I shared the video clip with you. It was when the Dudley Boys, they were in some sort of 6-man tag match, and on the other side of the ring were the Usos. And Bubba was in the ring with one of the Usos, I'm not sure which one, and he was on the ground laying fists onto his forehead, right? And this one's for your brother. Wham. This one's for your cousin. Wham. This is for your 39 other cousins. Wham.
Maybe. I mean, I know there's some people, obviously, who want to see him get that one-on-one push.
Yeah.
I know the WWE is super reluctant to do that, if ever.
Right.
It's just not a part of the formula that they would traditionally rely on. But
I don't even want to see him. I don't even care if he wins in a singles program.
You just want to have the opportunity.
Yeah, he's so good on the mic, and he's so entertaining in the ring with his vocalizations. He's somewhere in between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens as far as his in-ring vocalizations and his entertainment ability as far as on the mic.
But I think he also had a lot of guys who he could go with in TNA.
It's true.
It's a harder reach over here in the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some limitations basically at this point in their career.
Right,
Obviously, there should be, but we'll see. Maybe they give them the chance, maybe they don't. But I am excited that they are just still around. I love the idea that they're still on the roster because, number one, I don't think that right now they can have too many tag teams.
No.
Number two, they're not even the worst tag team by far that they have on their roster.
No.
So, I mean, there's a couple other guys that's like, woo.
We should have a tag team show one day and just go over the tag teams, or tag teams that could be if they decide to say, hey, this guy's struggling in singles and this guy's struggling, let's throw them together.
I'll just come out and say it. The Ascension is a dumpster fire. I cannot stand it. I understand what they did in TNA, but just no for me.
Well, I mean, all parties involved were
Dumpster
essentially
fire.
shooting themselves in the foot with this one because the guys, they looked a certain way, and that certain way probably they should not have looked because WWE fans tend to be rather nostalgic. They tend to be rather
and protective.
Right.
And that the from the environment they were coming from, NXT, those fans don't know. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't have called them out on, like, the LOD similarities because it's just not something that was topical for them.
Right.
But the moment they came to the main roster, it was like, oh, shit, are you for real? You're just going to rip off Hawk and Animal like
it
that?
wasn't just Hawk and Animal. There was little splits of Demolition in there, too.
Yeah.
So
it's and I guess maybe I'm wrong. As we were talking about the Dudleys, maybe that, identity is there on that part of the stage, on that level, because it was there enough for people to recognize the Ascension for who they were trying to be or trying to rip off and get all over them for it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is, I don't blame the Ascension with that one. Creative should have been like, maybe we should tweak this thing a little bit before you come on through that curtain, and people are like, who is this? Is this LOD Light?
Well, maybe because NXT is such an incubator and they didn't have an issue with it, they probably thought, oh, well, it's good, it's ready to roll, But just shows you the difference between the fan bases, just because you made it big down there or were able to put together, a couple of nice months down there, got some notoriety down there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate well on the big stage. And you've got to be talented enough to kind of hold on because they're not going to just put you back down. It's not like the MLB,
right?
Where it's like, well, we'll just send them back to AAA.
Well, they might because
Possibly.
they sent was it Zack Ryder got sent back a couple times to NXT, and he was tagging with other dude.
Sure.
I don't know, that's what I call him.
Well, Zack Ryder's very limited in my book as well. So
careful now, careful. You're gonna sink this ship before it even gets afloat. People love that guy. So we love Zack Ryder. We love him. He's great.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. He's entertaining in the ring. Never like the first person that I'm like, oh yes, I want to see a Zack Ryder match right now. But I'm getting what other people get out of it. I mean, did you hear? We'll get to it on the tag team match on SmackDown. But the chance they had to have possibly gotten the pop, I think they got a little bit. Their crowd was woo-woo-wooing with them. So there you go.
The next match on Raw was with Nia Jax, and this is part part of a wider view of things, which obviously Braun Strowman's going through the same thing where he's having those old school squash matches.
Sure.
And obviously Nia won her match. This one was a little bit more quote unquote competitive. For me, and forgive me because I haven't really looked forward to see if she has or he has any sort of a match on SummerSlam or the pre-show or anything like that. You know, I see this going somewhere very, very specific with both of them, and it's going to happen with both of them. Because Vince is a jerk, plain and simple. Where this is going is going to 1-2-3 kid territory. There's going to be because they haven't been fighting roster guys. They've been fighting.
I'm thinking Bailey.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I don't even think it'd be a Bailey. I think it's going to end up being
just Sasha Banks.
No, a nobody that beats her. They're going to go to 1-2-3 kid territory. He was a nobody, and all of a sudden he reverses a Irish whip into the corner on a Razor Ramon, climbs to the top, moonsault, 1-2-3, gets out of there. That's how Braun's going to lose. That's how Nia Jax is going to lose in this whole theme of things.
I will tell you, none of it excites me.
Let me tell you.
None of it excites me. It's just something that I kind of overlook. You want to talk about a shower match? Jeez, there you go. I'm at this point I'm not interested, and it's just I understand why she's out there. She did her job. I don't need to see it until that part of the story comes in. You know what I mean? Like it's been established in my mind. Okay, you're monster. Got it. Check mark. I've got it. And now I'm waiting for that. What next? Why is she? How is she gonna be used? Where we go from here? So we'll see. And even with Braun Strowman, we'll see too. But as much as they love the bigger guys, as much as they love that super athlete, they don't always do the right thing with them. In fact, most times I think that they do the wrong thing with them. The closest they came to doing the right thing with the big guy, I mean, actually, I'm not even just going to put it there. I'll give you a couple examples. I thought that I was hoping for maybe more, but I think they did right by Vader. They used him. They tried to use him at least how WCW used him. I mean, I mean, think about it though. Like he was in the main event for the world title a couple times. So it wasn't like he just came in there and jobbed. I mean, he like carried the card a few times. Right. Was it one of them SummerSlam against Shawn Michaels? I mean,
with Jose Lothario in the corner and all that stuff.
So he didn't. They tried. You know, he was the mastodon over there. Eventually,
there actually was a Mastodon character, so I don't know if they should.
They loved calling him that. Vince loved calling him that. But they also did right by, King Mabel before he passed away. You remember 1995?
Yeah, with Mabel, he was actually getting pushed for a potentially an actual world title reign. Yeah, and he was fighting Kevin Nash, and he was told not to do a specific move against Nash.
That he did.
He did it anyway, and injured Nash, and eventually, well, that's the end of you. Yeah.
Because he got that really hard push for a while there.
Yeah.
King Mabel, man. Yep. Talk about SummerSlam. There you go.
Love it. So our obviously in between there, Brock made his return to Raw, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to beat up Randy Orton, blah, 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 blah. Yep. For me, my favorite match going into SummerSlam, and I hope it continues beyond SummerSlam, just because the program's beyond entertaining. Is Enzo and Cass against Jericho and Kevin Owens.
So before we get there, let me just go back to that whole Brock and Randy Orton thing and just say this. Number one. So number one, the match is going to be good enough to where it's organically going to have heat built into it. I don't need any of this stupid crap about OVW and any of these
vignettes.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary because maybe if they weren't as strong names in the industry, maybe if I wasn't expecting so much from them, we would need that. But at this point, it's just like, I don't need any water on my taco. Why are you doing that?
What is that?
I don't know. That was my point too.
It just rewind. What is that? What is water on your taco?
That's the whole point of it. Is this something
like inappropriate that I should not be repeating? Or
no, I just made that up. It's something that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you put water on the taco?
You may have just made up a thing. I'm calling you out. I don't think you made this up. I think you took it from somebody.
It's more of a chicken runs at midnight thing. Do you know about that?
That I've heard.
Okay, so this is that kind of scenario.
You heard it somewhere. You don't just make up water on my taco.
I just made that up right now. I swear to you, I've never heard it anywhere. But that's the feeling that I get. It's like, why are you putting this on that? they don't need it. So,
oh man,
we could just build excitement around the match that I know that is going to be good. Another thing, can we please stop with all the town visits? I don't care who's going to Viperville, who's going to Suplex City. I'm going to take the rest exit for Boringville if you guys don't stop it. All right? I just want to see the match, and I'm wondering why they, maybe they don't understand what they have right there. I believe it's going to be the match of the card for sure.
I think it is potentially a sleeper match. Everyone's focusing on the 2 world title matches.
Right.
Well, I should say everyone's focusing on the 2 world title matches and Cena Styles.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't agree with this, but the feeling I get from other people is that Brock and Orton is kind of how people felt about Brock Taker going into WrestleMania. It's like, it's just there. They'll do some things, and then we'll go ooh, ah, and then the match will be over. I agree with you that I think that considering the 2 performers that are in the ring, they will absolutely, without a question, steal the show. Randy Orton, in my opinion, is this era's Randy
Ric
Savage,
Flair.
Bret Hart, Ric Flair. He will go with anybody and make it a match of the year.
Listen, Brock Lesnar's pretty darn good in the ring, but Randy Orton is at a level that a lot of these wrestlers will never get to. Nope. And if you are listening and you're wondering what I'm talking about, the next time he's in the ring, take notice of the fact that there are no wasted movements. There's not one single move that hasn't been accounted for by him. That right there is uncanny, and it's not something that you always find in the industry. It's not something that you can find commonly at all. So I have a lot of respect for what he does. I think that because of what he can do, when you put him in there with Brock, who, as we just said, is a great performer, you're going to get a great show. I like everything about, and I know obviously we're stepping on our SummerSlam session here, but it's the excitement of it. We'll just go with it. So another thing I like about Randy is this: the RKO is a great move, man. Let's go back to the Diamond Cutter for a second. I mean, I love the Diamond Cutter, and if you would have asked DDP about it, one of the best things about that move to him was the fact that he can get it on you from anywhere. He can pull that thing out of anywhere, and your size didn't matter, right? So Randy has that ability too. He obviously vocalized it in different ways, but I love that move, man. I love the fact that I don't know where it's going to be coming on Sunday.
I mean,
but
and to your point with the RKO, my favorite one to date was the WrestleMania where Seth Rollins cashed in. Where
absolutely. Seth hands down my favorite
Seth
RKO.
Was going for the curb stomp. Randy, shoulder thrusts him up in the air, catches, bam. Oh,
that is literally my favorite RKO.
What could have been my favorite, and it wasn't because it didn't end the match. I know this shouldn't be a prerequisite that it should end the match.
Sure.
His farewell match, quote unquote, against Roman Reigns before he went on the shelf, he RKO'd him out of the spear.
Yeah.
I lost it like a little kid. I was like 8 years old again, jumping up and down on the couch, and my wife was yelling at me. My dog was trying to bite me. It was a big old mess, but it was an RKO out of a spear.
And see, that's what I mean when I say Sunday is going to be exciting because it's rare, but Brock's going to have to step his game up to match his opponent.
Right.
It's not usually the case.
Right. And while suplexes and suplexes and suplexes and suplexes and suplexes will work against your Undertakers, your Dean Ambroses, your John Cenas, and so on and so forth, that type of a program will not work when you're wrestling a Randy Orton because people know that Randy's capable of so much more and that he's not the type to just be manhandled.
Well, that's what I mean as a part of what I say. When it's going to be exciting to see like what form the match literally takes on because one's going to have to try to establish, their style of match, and that just simply doesn't usually work with the other guy. So there's a lot of good stuff there. I'll tell you this: the excitement's not fictitious. I mean, I was fooling around on my phone earlier when I was, kind of getting my prep stuff together, and I happened to be going to hopefully check some scores for baseball on SportsCenter, and I've got a couple of videos on, SummerSlam implications, and there's a video about RKO sort of collage, if you will, or archive. So, I'm saying all that to say that there's some legitimate mainstream excitement about the athleticism. I think people who don't watch pro wrestling take a step back and they say, are those people lunatics? Do they not realize that this is phony? Do they not? But I think those people don't understand that it's athleticism. And that's the reason why you got SportsCenter donating their time and energy and efforts to this. That's the reason Sasha Banks, the boss, was on SportsCenter last week.
Well, and Seth Rollins was on His and Hers yesterday.
So it's pure in-ring ability that translates into something more palpable for everybody else. If you can watch, our young Olympians on the balance beams and things like that, then you should also be amazed at some of the things that
I'm gonna get in trouble. I was watching the Olympics with Amanda, my wife, and
lovely young lady.
Yes, yeah, I agree. We were watching the gymnastics, and they were doing the floor exercise, and wrestling has ruined me as a human being. I'll preface. So we were watching the floor exercise, and I'm like, I wonder how Neville would do on this program. Because they were doing all the flips and the twists and stuff, and they were sticking it. I'm like, I bet you Neville would do really well. Or Sami Zayn. She's like,
sounds like the WWE should have did some Olympic knockoff commercials.
They should have. Oh, man. That would have been phenomenal.
Who do we call?
Vince. Hey, Vince. Yo. But speaking about the whole ESPN SportsCenter thing, I don't know if you've noticed, but WWE now has a page on
a section, correct?
On ESPN.com.
Yes.
Since you brought up the whole, I found an E60 on Big Cast they did.
Sure.
Obviously, Sasha Banks was on, and Seth Rollins was on. One of my favorite ESPN things is when they do sports science and they break down the. I would love to see them break down the sports science of like an RKO or of the Red Arrow and see what actually goes, or the Shooting Star Press. Make it simple. See what actually goes into being able to execute something like that.
Why not? I mean, with all the other coverage that they provide, there's a space there for it, and I'm excited to see those things too. And from our conversations that I would encourage them to continue on and even kind of meld the two a little bit more. I think I'll tell anybody who will listen. The WWE needs the ticker at the bottom. It's kind of like something where if you're watching sports, you're kind of adjusted to seeing it, whether it's like SportsCenter or whether you're watching the football game or whatever. It's sports-based, so you have that at the bottom, and there's enough supporting, archived information that you could do that. I mean, they do house shows all the time. I mean,
heck,
there's other information too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you could put down there that's pertaining to it.
And even with the relationship they already have with ESPN, just put a general sports ticker down there too. Have MLB come across, NBA, NFL.
And there may be some licensing issues there that I'm unaware of at this point. That could be one reason why they don't overall do it, but certainly with your own. With your own information. Jeez, I mean, take advantage of it.
Right.
But, that's in a digression, stuffed in a box along with, usage of the WWE network, which they're obviously starting to pull their heads out of their and expanding how they use that. But there's still a lot more capability there. And I think with the platform, too, sports entertainment platform.
So I'd like to fast forward a little bit towards the, not the end of Raw, but for me, what should have been the end of Raw. That's a story for another day. Was Seth Rollins came out to the ring and was calling out Finn Balor, so he doesn't have the guts to come out, blah 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 blah, right? And then there's the Demon King.
Sure.
Aside, I can't stand that they're calling him the Demon King because no one enunciates properly. It sounds like they're saying the Demon Kane. Yeah. And I'm like, stop it, because he's not Kane. Finn Balor. I understand he's a Demon King. Sure. But everyone doesn't need a nickname. He's the Viper. He's Demon Kane. He's Finn Balor. Okay. And off the aside, my issue with this was that I thought that they were going to go into it and tease the Demon Finn Balor, right? And Seth was going to call him out, and then all of a sudden the lights were going to flicker. You're going to hear the music. Sure. You're going to see shadows and things like that. The Undertaker-style mind games. Sure. And then you really don't see him until Sunday at SummerSlam. I thought they were going to tease it that way.
Okay.
All of a sudden, oh, nope, he's really there on the ramp. Oh, nope, he's really punching Seth Rollins in the face. Oh, nope, he's really jumping over the top rope. Okay.
I think you're right there. That probably would have been a better lead up to SummerSlam, I think. Maybe a misstep
Tease
right there. Yeah, sure. But I think also, I understand why they did it. If you are a main WWE Universal, viewer, that hasn't been exposed to very much NXT, then you haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they wanted to build some excitement by literally showing you the Demon King character before SummerSlam, because a lot of us haven't seen it. And I think it, while we could have personal reservations about it, it worked.
Yeah,
Hell, they got the response they wanted. You had the crowd chanting, this is awesome. So
I think this Sunday is going to be a SummerSlam to remember.
Yeah, it's a stacked card when you think about it. I mean, we haven't even really touched on, Styles and Cena. And, I mean, this card is top to bottom stacked.
Yep. I mean, you could just have those 4 matches that we've talked about and have a phenomenal show. I mean, you've got Cena Styles, you've got Rollins and Balor, you've got Orton and Brock Lesnar, and then I just lost Ambrose and Ziggler. Those guys can go, obviously. You're going to have the fact that Ambrose and Ziggler is the weak match of that 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not the weak match, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, though. Yes, absolutely. And that's a good place to be in. There's a lot of excitement, and it should be a big day for them.
Right. Yeah. That pretty much wraps it up for Raw. I mean, there was a little bit of Luke and Gallows talking about testicles and stuff and putting them in jars and all that good stuff. Obviously, we already touched on Rusev and Roman, which was a phenomenal match. Obviously, Roman came out on top for that.
Right.
We'll talk about this a little bit when we get into the SummerSlam part of it. What's called Enzo and Cass. Cass was fighting a one-on-one match with Kevin Owens. He won by DQ. Big Cass won by DQ. So we'll get into that program when we start talking about the SummerSlam part of it. But I believe you got some SmackDown stuff for us.
Yeah, so we'll just transition right over into SmackDown, and again, we'll try to keep it brief so we can, finish up with this focus on SummerSlam as well as should be. It should be. Okay, so SmackDown started off with, and again, let me just say, before we deep dive into it, it felt very much like a B show this week. It felt like a B show, even, not last week. Last week was an A show. The week before was an A show. This felt like the B to those A's. Does that make sense? Like, this felt like the recap follow-up of last week's SmackDown.
Little senioritis?
Yeah, it felt like, half the guys are on vacation or something. I don't know, but that was kind of the perception that I had with it. So we did start off with, the road to SummerSlam. So we got the little confrontation between Dolph Ziggler and the champion, excuse me, on the Miz's Miz TV. So, the thing about this here is Maurice is funny, first of all. Every time she talks, I just want to laugh so much.
Oh, boy.
But her and the Miz, super, super, super annoying. But there's some dynamic, I think, with some of the on mic talent that they have. Mm-hmm. And so it was a nice opening segment from the standpoint of this. Mm-hmm. You have 3 guys that can handle themselves decently, I think. The Miz was a buffer. Mm-hmm. I think, and of all 3, I would probably say that I was least impressed by Dolph Ziggler. And he kind of fumbled a little bit with his words.
He sure did.
And they had to kind of water it down for him a little bit. And I think at this point, maybe the expectation was supposed to be that he's just organically further along. You've been around. You've seen how it goes. You've had a run as the champion. If I'm somebody making decisions at this point, the only limitation that I have is the fact that it still sounds like that. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can't get away from wacky storylines like, a love thing with Vicky Guerrero unless you can talk.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, to me, that was a little disappointing, and I don't know how it goes for them, obviously, but perhaps that's something that could have been a nail in the coffin for his prospects for actually pulling it off against Dean Ambrose on Sunday.
I actually kind of liked how the interview segment went. Miz, in my opinion, is extremely underappreciated.
Do I dislike the Miz? But that's a good thing. It's heat.
It's not, and the thing is, it's the good kind of dislike for the Miz. It's not like Bella heat or Eva Marie heat.
Yeah, I don't despise him.
Yeah,
I just what they're doing is working. Yeah, he's very good at being a heel.
Good at being he's like almost like a retread. I don't want to say a retread, but he's got that honky tonk man about him, where it's like,
well, he's got bravado because he's got that macho king about him.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's very much a lot of that.
And he's getting better in the ring. If he was anywhere near like a Cesaro level in the ring or anything like that,
yeah,
he'd be the guy. Sorry, Roman, but he'd be the guy. For me, I liked how that segment ended though with Ziggler.
Super kick.
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. And for me, the way Ziggler executes the super kick, I'd much prefer that be his finisher instead of the zigzag. I like the zigzag as well. I'd like to see the two get flip-flopped in his arsenal and him actually finish with the super kick, because he has that RKO quality about him with the super kick, where he can bring it out of different angles and out of nowhere and so on and so forth.
I'm a little concerned for the super kick, though. It's being overused by everyone on many different levels, and I want to preserve it for people like Dolph Ziggler. There's a lot of guys using it,
right?
And I mean, because think about it, you got him.
Everybody does.
Everybody does it. So I like it, but I am cautious about the number of super kicks that I should be seeing on Raw or SmackDown, for that matter.
Right.
One other little side note I wanted to mention about that little vignette, because it was something that stood out to me as something that I liked. Ambrose said to Ziggler, "You're happy to be the sarcastic star of your own little movie." That was awesome, because they kind of hinted on some real issues with Dolph Ziggler as an on-mic personality, and I just thought it was good, man. I just thought it was good.
Yeah, that phrase stood out to me as well when Ambrose said it. I'm like, something tells me there's a little bit of truth in that statement, like backstage truth in that statement.
To borrow from Stephen Colbert, there's some truthiness behind that statement. So we move along then to the 12-man tag team match, which was obviously what it was meant to be, which was just another prop-up point for the American Alpha. But we had the Hype Bros, the Usos, and the American Alpha take on the Vaudevillains, the Ascension, and Breezango. Couple of things I want to just say about these people involved, and then we can kind of go to the match if you want. I'll let you kind of run with it there. Number one, the Hype Bros. We mentioned it before. People started wooing like crazy the second they were in the ring, getting ready to, pull it off. So the fan appeal is there. I think, I was a little worried for Zack Ryder at first. It's kind of like you've been building this momentum, and now they put you back in this tag situation. But they should make this work for them. And hopefully that team just gets a chance to keep showing what they can do. While Zack Ryder may not be my favorite, I think he's put in some work. And I want to see where they can go with the Hype Bros. I want to see if the crowd will literally propel them into a top spot, because that's what they got right now, this massive crowd appeal. And
with Zack Ryder, everybody wants to see, him with some kind of belt. And we've had this discussion numerous times where the belt doesn't necessarily make the wrestler. Sometimes the wrestler makes the belt.
Sure.
So like, give you examples. Roddy Piper never had the world title.
Yep.
He was usually an IC title guy, if that, right?
Yeah.
But rarely had that. Another example, Chris Benoit was usually
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake.
Chris Benoit, he actually was pretty decorated, but
later on in his career, it took a while for him to get there.
To get to the world title, I feel like he was fairly decorated all along, though. I mean, he his TV title.
No, I'm not saying no titles, because Ryder had his fair share of titles as well. He was the Internet Champion. He was IC Champ a couple times.
Right.
He's had titles.
I mean, there are guys who just never needed the belt.
Right. To get over.
I keep saying Jake the Snake Roberts.
Well, I mean, didn't he have an IC title a couple times, I think? I know he's in a couple matches at least for the IC title. He might have had one.
We'll have to look that up, because he was. But I understand what you mean, and obviously he's a guy that plays into that.
And where I was getting at with Ryder is that the fans love him so much that if you just have him in stories that matter, that's all you really need to do. Have him have a shot at some title. Have him have a match with a number one contender and just miss.
So
the
he
win.
can be more like how they're using a boy from 3MB.
Oh, Heath Slater?
Yeah. Is that what you're thinking? Just kind of like, funny vignettes like that. I mean, I think the Heath Slater stuff is fun.
I dig it. I didn't
Nice free agent, man.
I didn't dig it at first. I'm not gonna lie to you.
What are y'all thinking?
Did not like it at first, but it's grown on me. It's a
Listen,
lot like the new
Listen,
day.
the guy's got 9 kids.
Well, it went from 2 to 9 in the span of a week. So he was a busy man a few months ago.
I like it too. I wasn't sure where it was going, but again, there's another guy. Good for him. If there's a job to be done, he's done it in the WWE at this point.
He's got that that Cody Rhodes variable that you like, where he'll give him a gimmick, give him a story, and he'll execute it for you.
Yes. However, he is super limited. I don't think Cody Rhodes is limited at all. I think Cody Rhodes was vastly underutilized. There's got to be some family stuff going on there where they were, proving a point or, kind of sticking it to somebody because
Vince does that a lot.
Yeah, and I would wonder if that was the case there because that young man should have had the belt put on him at some point already, and he should have had a lengthy title run. I mean, he's just that good in the ring, period.
Right, I agree.
But to get back to what we were on there, also in that tag team match, so, you had the Usos as well. Just a reminder for everybody, that's the anchor of this tag team division. That's the legitimacy there because it sure as hell ain't the other side of the card. The Vaudevillains got to do the job again for the American Alpha. It's like, why don't you look? I just said you had a dumpster fire called the Ascension running around. Like one of those guys should have clearly did the job, but the Vaudevillains, for whatever reason, put over American Alpha again. And Breezango's in there. They should be thankful they were just in the match. Breezango. I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but I think that the two guys need to continue to do what they are doing, which is embracing it, making it their own, and hopefully something good will come of it. The WWE, I think, will give them some help, but they've got to do something to get some excitement there. I see they change the look just a little bit to get more back to that Tyler Breeze winning formula. You know what I mean? Like even just like the synchronized outfits, it looks more Tyler Breeze, whereas before they looked more Fandango. You know what I mean? So we'll see if that all works for them. But the 12 guys in the ring, just kind of wanted to show you guys what the tag team division is. It wasn't necessarily a great match or anything like that. It was just a whole lot of just so you can see the faces and, let's kind of bring some question around whether we're going to have tag titles or whatever. And just another way for them to show that the American Alpha is going to be the top dogs, and it'll just kind of fall in line from there. So did what it did, exposure.
Right.
Not necessarily a great anything else about it. And after the tag team melee there, we moved on to the supposed Naomi versus Eva Marie. So, let's take just half a second on this because this is kind of funny. So if you go back to our last show, because we were kind of talking about this a little bit, and we assumed that her injury was legitimate because it was played very legitimate versus at work. It wasn't very hoaxy or cheesy at all.
Right. So
number one, kudos to the WWE. They're growing up on that stage too, which just kind of clouds the realness question a little more for you, which I'm okay with. But then, of course, next week we see her come back with the wardrobe malfunction. So it's like, okay, it was a work,
Boobs.
So Miss All Red Everything was supposed to face Naomi this past week, and of course, we get the traffic issue. So I'm okay with that story. It's building heat. Everybody hates that girl anyway. Keep it up, right? If you're special, if you don't have to fight a match and you can continuously build heat.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I would say good for her.
And then she goes and gets herself suspended.
Exactly, which we'll talk about there. But Naomi, this was a bigger thing for Naomi. I like Naomi. I think she's got talent. I think she deserves a chance. I know in the past I don't feel like she's gotten the opportunity to be her. This seems like her. This seems like something that she's comfortable with. It seems like something that is organic and genuine, and I'm comfortable with it. The crowd seemed to give her a nice pop, and I know she didn't get to showcase her in-ring ability, but it was a nice reintroduction to Naomi, and I hope that she can continue to reassert herself because she is part of the old guard, let's face it, in terms of, the women's landscape right now.
Right.
But This is a good opportunity for Naomi, and,
Right.
and I like that. So after that faux match that didn't happen, we moved on to yet another shot for Heath Slater to get a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just mentioned that whole thing's been funny, and Randy went out there. I love the multiple suplex. I love it. Just kind of little dig at Brock Lesnar right before SummerSlam. Just taking Heath Slater to Suplex City, or his version of it. And then, of course, Heath luckily lucks out and gets the contract in the end because Randy's disqualified or whatever. No problems with the way any of that played out. I thought it was a nice way to kind of move two stories along together in a way that I could digest pretty easily. And we'll just keep breezing by so we can, finish up with SummerSlam here. Dean Ambrose versus Eric Rowan. I'm not a huge Eric Rowan fan.
Really? I thought you loved the guy. I thought he was your favorite. I thought you had an Eric Rowan, jumpsuit back home.
I really think, redheaded Michael Myers there is awful. I do not.
He's like Sheamus upside down with his head.
Dude, he's a lot of stuff. Good ain't one of them. I have a hard time watching his match. There's another shower match for you. I thought it was a good opportunity for him. I thought that this was one of his most digestible matches that I've ever seen. I'm not going to just completely shit all over the guy, even though I just did. But I thought that this match was pretty much getting to the limits of what he can provide in the ring. It was a good chance for him. It'd be interesting to see where they go story-wise. He let down Bray, and we had the whole thing with Bray walking away from him at the end there. So very interesting stuff right there. I talked last time, too, about wanting to see Bray separate more from the Wyatt family. I don't necessarily care if they all stay together or whatever the case is, but I would like to see him, because I think at one point the Wyatt family was great for Bray. At this point, they may actually be limiting him. So,
You bring up Bray, and I'm sorry for the tangent here. For the longest time, since this particular person's been struggling finding a way to stick with an angle in WWE, or just to gain any sort of momentum or traction, I would love to see Bray recruit Bo Dallas as one of his minions, because they're actually related.
Well, what the hell else is Bo Dallas doing?
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
Believe it.
And that's the thing. Like, he's been this whole super positive person, and it hasn't worked for him. He's had nothing but failure, negative things happen, and that's the exact perfect person for Bray to manipulate and brainwash. The angle writes itself, and the fact that they're related could lead to some awesome, tag team work down the road and some cool programs between each other. Eventually, Bo sees the light, wants to break away. Bray doesn't want him to break away. You get an awesome one-on-one program.
Sure.
I just wrote 2 years worth of crap in like 30 seconds.
It's a good idea. You got all those misfits there. Well, you're wandering into flock territory. You're wandering into flock territory is what you're doing. So.
People loved Raven.
Yeah. Well, I know I was one of them. Man, I'm a huge flock fan. Shout out to Kidman. Hopefully he's somewhere alive and well.
Hopefully.
Quick question for you, Nat.
Uh-oh.
If you saw two people dangling over a cliff and you could only rescue one of them,
oh boy,
who's it going to be? You going to use your hand to pull up Alexa Bliss, or are you going to pull up Carmella?
Sorry, Carmella.
So, okay, that kind of segues into Carmella and Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss and Natalya. I got to disagree with you, dude. I'm dropping Alexa Bliss like a bad habit, dude. I think that she's I don't understand what her little dwarf, thing is all about. Like, she dresses like she's like the long lost, female dwarf, Movie the dwarf, right? Yeah. Or like some type of little like cheerleader or something. I don't know. I don't get it, dude. It's very weird. So, Fraulein over there. She's probably the one that's not going to get it from me. A good opportunity for these ladies. I like the tag team action. I thought that these four gals were definitely deserving. I do like Carmella a lot more than Alexa Bliss. I think she's got a little bit more of an established character. She won't have as much issue getting that character over, and it's a little true to who she is. I mean, that background as a
for sure,
as a professional sports cheerleader and things like that. Whether it have been NFL or NBA, I mean, I see some genuineness in there. However annoying that it is, there's some genuineness.
Right.
But the Queen of Staten Island
Stop it.
is definitely winning me over. Becky Lynch, I like that they put those two together. I was wondering, I thought Carmella was going to be traveling down the heel road, but it looks like obviously she's going to end up being a face. To have her.
It's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah. Well, no, I think she's got
it's going to be a tough sell.
The crowd, listen.
They're not laughing with her. They're laughing at her.
No, they love her, man.
No,
listen.
No.
There were some "how you doing" chants during this match. So I mean,
like I said, I think it's more of a laughing at you than laughing with you. I could be wrong, and I'll eat crow if I have to. But
I don't think they're laughing at her any more than they're laughing at Enzo. Put it to you that way.
Okay, that's probably fair. That's probably fair.
But Becky Lynch, this was great for her too. Just
I feel
more
bad for her, man.
Well, I don't feel bad for her because Becky is the John Cena of the women's division right now. I think she's over. She doesn't necessarily need the belt. It'd be nice if she had it. There's some differences. I'm not going to say she's the John Cena, but I see some similarities with how he's being used right now and how you can use her. She's strong right now.
And I guess
there's nothing wrong with Becky.
This is why I kind of feel bad for her, quote unquote. I actually saw her get over the hill, get over the hump, whatever you want to call it, against Sasha in NXT, and that match was awesome.
Sure.
It was. She kept going back to the well and got beat, kept getting beat down by Sasha. Eventually, she finally managed to overcome that demon and beat Sasha. And she carried that. They both carried that program phenomenally, and Becky played her role perfectly. She wasn't trying to steal the show from Sasha.
Sure.
She played the role of the underdog perfectly without making it seem like it was no chance of her winning. And I feel bad that she's not getting that opportunity here. Obviously, she's had some go-arounds with Paige and some go-arounds with Charlotte, but she never got a chance to really overcome those challenges.
I think she will. I think the brand split was a good thing for her. I think getting away from Charlotte, getting away from Sasha, that's a good thing for her. She can establish her brand a little more here. And there's just a new crop of talent. I mean, it's another exciting, jump-off point for the women's division, and they've had a couple of those already. So good stuff there. The last piece I want to add to that is I freaking hate Natalya, dude. And it's not like good heel hate. No, I don't like watching her.
And I agree with you.
It's getting worse, too. Like, you were terrible as a face. Like, you couldn't even use your family's name to get over with the crowd. And you're awful as a heel. It's just so forced. It doesn't look organic. I don't like the stupid old lady Catwoman suit. I'm over all of it, dude.
And I hate that I have to agree with you, not because of you, but because I'm a big-time Hart family mark. You say it's from the Harts or it's from the dungeon. I'm all about it. Like, I love me some Lance Storm.
Yeah.
I was behind Tyson Kidd because he had that background.
If I was the dungeon, I wouldn't be claiming this one, man.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, for me, like, I've got the dungeon banner that I'm waving here, and all of a sudden it's like, crap. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. No, it's
She does do a good sharpshooter, though. I'll give her that.
She does a decent sharpshooter, and they're obviously trying to work with her, but boy, is she a tough pill to swallow. So obviously the show ended with John Cena and Alberto Del Rio. Yeah, and I'll just abstain on mentioning anything about Alberto Del Rio there for obvious reasons. John Cena is ready for his match this Sunday.
This is gonna be one of the greatest SummerSlams in a long time.
And I think AJ Styles is ready too. And the fact that we got that first match out of the way before just bodes really good things for this one. So I'm excited there. This was a nice little tune-up for him. And we can kind of segue away from SmackDown. It wasn't, too much more.
For sure. This brings us to the fun part of the show. I've been waiting for this the whole time, which is SummerSlam. Where should we begin? Well, we've got... this is going to be one of the kickoff matches for SummerSlam, from what I can see. But
Did you want to go over like your all-time favorites, or do you want to?
I almost forgot about my all-time favorites. Thank you.
Here. Let me go first before my phone dies, and then that way we can kind of switch it back over to you. I was, so guys, Nat had, reached out to me yesterday about this and said, hey, why don't we, just kind of talk about our favorite SummerSlam matches? And I had to stop and think about it for a second, and don't really necessarily have a match, but I am going to call out Highway to Hell, SummerSlam 98, for a couple of different reasons. This was the height of my wrestling interest, I would say, as I was growing up. It was when I was most into it, watching most, just most involved, and it was when I was most bought into it. There was a lot of hype around the main event, and that Stone Cold versus Undertaker match was just something that I just remember looking forward to, man. And so Highway to Hell, the AC/DC track, all of it just brought it together, and it was a cool summer, for me growing up, and that was like a nice little cap to it in the end there. So, you had the ladders and tables and chairs. There's a lot of stuff going on here. As just mentioned, Steve Austin and The Undertaker, but you also had the ladder match, The Rock and the Triple H. That was a barn burner as well. The Tag Team Championship, No Hold Bars and Falls Count Anywhere, Mankind and Kane versus the New Age Outlaws. Just a great card, top to bottom. European Championship, Mr. D'Lo Brown versus Val Venus. Yes, love me some D'Lo Brown. Sable and Mystery Partner versus Jacqueline and Marvelous Mark Merrill.
Wild man, Mark Merrill.
That's right. Ken Shamrock versus Owen Hart. X-Pac versus Double J, hair versus hair. I that was it for me. So I don't have a particular match that I wanted to key on, but I would just say that the SummerSlam Highway to Hell was some serious good memories.
For me, and when I was kind of digging through the matches, and I came to the realization that as I was going through the list of all these awesome matches, that SummerSlam really has kind of, in comparison to the Big Four, SummerSlam has really been the overachiever of the Big Four, because the Rumble has the Rumble, so it's got its niche. WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It doesn't really need to do anything. It's going to be WrestleMania. Survivor Series back in the day was always the big tag match, the good versus the evil tag match, or whatever you want it to be. So SummerSlam had to rely on its actual matches, and its storylines and whatever you have, had to rely on that to really sell itself as
the Dog Day Summer come to a head.
And when I was going through the lists, I'm like, I wasn't expecting to find as many matches as I did, but I found so many. Like even recently, we had Brock versus Cena at SummerSlam. Phenomenal match, and all of a sudden at the end, Rollins decides to insert himself, and it's just like you couldn't have asked for more at that point. But the matches that I settled on two, and once it was really hard to settle on these two, but for me, these are them. The first one's going to be.
There's Paul. Oh, where's the Undertaker?
Oh, no! He's got nothing, McMahon!
Wait a minute. What's he looking at over here? Oh, wait a minute. Paul Bearer is bringing the double wide, double deep casket. And you know what's inside that casket. No, I don't know. The Undertaker's in there. The Undertaker's in the ring. Man, wonder who his involver is. Inside that casket, ladies and gentlemen, The Undertaker. That's The Undertaker that will step in the ring and face The Undertaker. The Undertaker's in the ring. The Undertaker's in the ring so far. We've still seen nothing. Absolutely nothing from Paul Bearer. Now, I'll watch this. Tell you one thing. The Undertaker steps out of there, I'm leaving. And here he comes.
I fully expected. Oh, the Undertaker to.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
something.
McMahon, he doesn't have an Undertaker. I guess he expects that urn to fight the Undertaker.
Well, for sure he's not going to come out of the urn. But what is going on here?
They're leading the casket away.
Wait a minute.
What is...
There's a light coming from the earth. The spirit of the Undertaker. And wait a minute. Listen to this.
Oh! It's freezing in here, McMahon. What is going on?
Commanding the spirit of the Undertaker. And oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
He's moving now. Jerry the King Lawler. Now that's the Undertaker.
I've said it before, McMahon, but I really didn't believe it, but there are two Undertakers.
One of the matches that this particular match was one of the, you mentioned your gateway match last time was when Ron Simmons won the world title. This particular match wasn't a gateway match for me, but it was. I geeked out like such a little kid, man. It was obviously the clip we just played was Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam, and what had just happened at the Royal Rumble previously, where Brett defended the title against. I think it was against Razor Ramon, where Undertaker was in a casket match against Yokozuna, and everybody from the back came out and helped Yokozuna put the Undertaker in the casket. He rose up out of the Titantron, and then all of a sudden you insert Leslie Nielsen into the mix, and he's trying to find the Undertaker.
There's a lot of excitement at that time. Then, I remember that.
Yeah, and then it culminated with the Undertaker versus the Undertaker at SummerSlam. It was that big of a match. I almost said SummerSlam.
And I was looking forward to it so badly.
Then you've got Ted DiBiase in the ring with his Undertaker, which I think was awesome because he brought the Undertaker originally to the WWE.
Right.
And then you've got Paul Bearer leading out the casket from the Royal Rumble with all the Druids on the side, reaches in, pulls out the big, huge urn, and just the theatrics that were going on, the lightning, the sound, the thunder. And all of a sudden, you see a silhouette of the Undertaker in the entranceway, and then he begins to move, and oh my goodness.
It was a long time coming, too, because he was out for such a long time, and I remember that growing up as a kid.
And I geeked like such a little kid. And this brings us to our second match, which was, I wasn't really watching yet, so I had the privilege of going back and watching it when I was a little bit older and really appreciated it.
Sure.
And I appreciated it for the match.
Suplex him from the top rope. This from the top rope. Another champion. No, I can't believe it. Wow. I think we've seen just about every wrestling move there is to see thus far in this seesaw matchup. What a match. Off the rope. And again. Double clothesline, pulls men out. What a match, huh, McMahon? Unbelievable. What a night. What a SummerSlam. He's going for the sharpshooter. Yes. He's going to set him up with the sharpshooter. Red Hart having presence of mind. Flat on his back, half unconscious, knows enough to do this. He can't turn him. He
He can turn him. There he goes. I knew he could turn him. What? He's got the hind legs of that mutt. Oh, yes, the sharpshooter apart. It's all over. Nobody's ever gotten out of this. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. You can have some tea. Take the easy way out, pal. Give it up. Your wife will
Imagine
drive
the
home.
pain the British Bulldog is in. Yes, and yes, he saves himself.
Hey, if you don't like it, you shouldn't be here. You should be home doing dishes. Stop it. Washing clothes.
Unbelievable intestinal fortitude on the part of both participants. Sunset flip.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this bout and new Intercontinental Champion, the British Bulldog.
And that match right there between Bret Hart and the Bulldog for the IC
Okay.
title at SummerSlam at Wembley. Holy cow! Like, the background behind that match. I'm not sure if you might have told me about it. Somebody else might have, that Davey was drunk off his ass.
I think it was somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Davey was just gone. So
Okay.
Bret was carrying the whole match, and the fact that the match was one of the greatest ever, where one of half of the match was completely right. It's just he almost didn't make it. He literally got there in time when his music was playing.
Wow.
That's like,
Wow.
and for me, it was one of my favorite matches of all time, SummerSlam, regardless. But just that, and how we were talking about the finishers before, right?
Yeah.
You know how that match ended? Sunset flip.
That's right.
Davey blocked it 1, 2, 3.
One thing I will tell you about that match, in an honest, realistic picture of, like, you know, and I had mentioned this before. Growing up, it was easy to get into wrestling because, you know, areas we were in, not always able to go and hang out and stuff like that. Having a VCR, being able to watch tapes, right? That was a big, big thing. And the video stores that we would go to, I gotta be honest with you, 92 SummerSlam was like, it seemed like it was always there. Okay. So me as a kid, you know, our family's going to the video store and it's everybody kind of go get their own little movie or whatever to rent. And so I'm running right for the wrestling section. Can't really call it, yeah. You can't really call it a section, right? Because at this point, we're talking like, 93, 94, 95.
I'm gonna guess you tried to sneak into the roped off section, right?
Yeah, right. Before being led back out to the 7 wrestling tapes. But it seemed like that one of them always, undoubtedly, was SummerSlam 92. So very familiar with the entire card there. And it was a great match. I've seen it plenty of times. A lot of times that was the only tape to rent if you wanted to watch wrestling. So good stuff there. Good pick by you.
Awesome. Now we're actually getting to the actual card that we have coming up on Sunday. So you're not experiencing deja vu, but one of the kickoff matches for this Sunday is one of the matches you talked about on SmackDown, which is American Alpha, the Hype Bros, and the Usos versus Breezango, the Ascension, and the Vaudevillains. Again, as if we didn't have enough of it on SmackDown, we get more
Round
on
2.
SummerSlam.
Great. You know what? Here's the thing, though. It's, in all seriousness, this is an opportunity for one of these teams to prove themselves. We know the company standpoint, right? We know who they want to push. We know American Alpha is highly regarded. But if you're one of these other teams, this is an immense opportunity for you. If you're Breezango, this is an immense opportunity for you. You guys can't go out there and friggin' mail it in. You know what I mean? You've got to show up. So I'll be taking another look at this one with the expectation that it will be way more exciting. It just will be, because it has to be. If I'm the WWE, I'm almost looking at the tag team division on SmackDown, and you could go one way with it. You could just not have a title there and just, figure something else out. Or if they prove themselves, maybe you do. I mean, I'm using this as a banner to say, guys, go and show us that you deserve.
That we need another title.
Yeah, show us that there's a lot of competition and we need another title. Because I think that's an undecided concept at this point. This match is a long way towards them making that case for themselves. So they had better come out and take full advantage of it.
And for me, I'm huge on American Alpha. And to think that a team like that is on a program, on a show that doesn't have a title for them.
Sure.
Won't work. They've either got to go to Raw where the titles are, or you have to make a title for SmackDown. Period.
But here's the thing, though. You can't just make the titles for them. Which
I understand.
Is, you know what I mean? Which is why all these other teams need to show. I mean, Breezango.
That's just they're just there.
Listen, they could have serious heel appeal. I think.
Breeze could. I'm not sold on Fandango.
I
know he won his debut match on WrestleMania. But.
I'm not particularly, excited about one-on-one prospects of watching him wrestle, but a tag team match, sure. I think this works for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think this works. Them particularly, you need to be showing what you can do right here. I'm a little less worried about the Vaudevillains. I mean, I think there's a reason that they're being picked on a little bit lately, and I think it's because they like them.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about the WWE is you're gonna have to earn yours, right? And they're earning it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are doing the job.
Well, they're going through what New Day went through for a while.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, it's. I'm not worried about them. As I said, Breezango, this is their opportunity. The Hype Bros, this is their opportunity. You teams need to kind of show that this needs to be a division.
Right. For me, there's another, and I usually wouldn't spend this much time on the kickoff matches with the exception of this one. I think that this is going to be a sleeper match that probably could have been an entertaining first match of the show. You've got Sami Zayn and Neville versus the Dudley Boys. I think that match is going to be surprisingly entertaining.
I think it will be entertaining, too. It's not going to be long, though.
Right. No, I agree. And then we've got your boy Cesaro and Sheamus. Their program's not even good enough for the show. It's on the freaking kickoff show.
Is it really?
It's the last match of the kickoff show.
It's the last match of the kickoff show? Wow. That just doesn't bode
Freaking
well
Sheamus.
for it. Yeah.
It's the Sheamus curse. That's what it is. The show actually officially starts, presuming that this is in some kind of order on the WWE website. The show should be starting with tag match. Looks like a ladies tag match. You've got Carmella, Becky Lynch, and then it's Natalya and Alexa Bliss. More Natalya for you.
Yeah, big opportunity for them. Another rematch from SmackDown there. And so again, I'm expecting a better match. Although I don't like Alexa Bliss, I see what she brings to the ring. I see why she's there. Very glad for her and Carmella that they both won their one-on-one matches a few weeks back. Big for them, but another stepping stone for that division as well. Prove to us that that there's a lot of players at that level. So I know it's probably not a lot of excitement around it from the WWE universe, but I think they'll put on a good show. Becky should be able to highlight why she's so well thought of, and again, just a great opportunity for the younger ladies. Natalya, don't mess it up.
From there is where I think the show starts to get fun.
Okay.
We've got the IC title on the line. The Miz versus Apollo Crews. This is, in my opinion, a huge match that could define the next 6 months of not only Apollo Crews' career, but of periphery matches for the company. If they do it right or wrong.
I'm not particularly excited because I don't think that this is the right match for either one of these guys. I'm not anticipating a good actual physical matchup, so I'm not excited for it. But I'm gonna hold out hope that maybe I'm wrong and they'll be able to give us a good show. But the issue with Apollo Crews is not whether he's talented; it's going to be how they use him, and it's going to be who he goes against.
Yep.
And this right here is a mismatch. It's not something that's complimentary of either guy and the in-ring talent that they need to be working with.
Right.
So this is more of a how much lemonade can you squeeze out of this scenario for
sure.
the both of them. And if they can, it's going to speak volumes to their professionalism because
Right.
on paper it just doesn't look good to me.
Because and I agree with you. In all seriousness, Crews should squash The Miz. But has he really built up enough in-ring credibility to actually beat a guy who is as seasoned as The Miz?
Right.
But for The Miz to come out on top, he's going to have to steal one. So some sort of distraction from Miss Maurice, and then you've got the
Why you were not looking?
Right, the skull crushing finale, or some roll up with tights being pulled. Miz comes out with the IC title. That for me is not a step backwards for Apollo Crews because he had the win stolen from him. He's
Sure.
going to have a rematch on
Sure.
the next show or SmackDown or what have you,
Sure.
and come out on top, kind of thing. So, like, him losing through nefarious means is not
Sure.
a bad thing. Him winning may not necessarily be a good thing.
I wouldn't be excited by the prospects of him winning because there's only one place to go from there for him, and that will be down.
Right.
Because the next person that they pair him with is going to be another bad matchup. See, again, he's not a bad talent, but right now, if you look at that roster, unless I have it wrong, there's not a lot of great matchups for him.
No.
So if you're going to put the belt on him, you're just going to keep highlighting crappy matchups.
I think the best matchup for him, and it doesn't seem like that at first, would be Cesaro, because they're on the same level in terms of athleticism.
Sure.
He's obviously stronger than Cesaro, but for his build, Cesaro's
You're right, actually.
stupid strong.
I could see that as being a really good matchup
That'd
right
be
there.
great.
Yeah.
It wouldn't look good because when you look at the two guys' builds from a distance, you're like,
Sure.
Cruz is going to be slow, and Cesaro can't keep up with him. He's not strong enough, but
Sure.
he is, and he is fast enough to,
It's like, thank God they're on different shows because the WWE is more apt to do something stupid like, oh, it's going to be Cruz versus Sheamus. Oh.
No. No. We started talking about this one when we were chatting about Raw, and we didn't finish, but it was Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. I love the fact that we've got a tag team match that's not for the titles that actually has me excited.
Sure.
This match is going to be great. The program's phenomenal. The jibber jabber on the mic, back
Owens
and
and
forth.
Jericho. It's just microphone gold.
Yes.
I mean, we've only been together a few weeks, and we're already a better tag team. We're already closer than they are.
Like for
It's
me,
great. It's great.
For me, regardless of how this match plays out, win or loss for Jericho and Owens, or win or loss for Cass and Amore, I need to see a blow up between Owens and Jericho, and I need to see a one-on-one program. Needs to happen.
Well, I don't know why they're doing this if that's not what's going to happen.
Why what?
I said I don't know why they're doing all this if that's not what's going to happen.
Leads to the blow up.
That's what I mean. Like if that's not going to happen, then I would wonder why are they doing all this. I'm assuming, to your point.
Gotcha.
Where it's
well,
going.
you never know. They may actually see some value in Owens and Jericho being
Team Canada.
Right, and them being a tag team. I mean, the only struggle there though is that Jericho probably doesn't have many years left.
Sure.
Owens is a valuable singles competitor. You don't want him to get lost in the tag team shuffle.
Well, I would see them more as an alliance, as like a straight up tag team.
More of a stable kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
A mini stable.
And I think also you got to take a look at whether you're going to actually put them in a program together, because now you're taking two guys that are great on the microphone and you're using them together. You don't have a lot of those guys. Maybe you want to pair them up with somebody who's going to need to be carried a little more. So if you do that, how's that leave the rest of the landscape? Because you got a lot of dudes out there who can't talk.
Right now, though, to your point, where they might be messing it up now, 3 of the 4 best talkers in the company are in the same match with each other.
Right. I mean, there's not a lot of other microphone time going around, which is why, like, Apollo Crews, you've heard nothing from. You know what I mean? Just virtually hidden.
Well, and this might be an issue for another day or a story for another show or what have you. I think one of the things that really plagues this particular generation of wrestlers and performers is that there's really not a whole lot of mouthpiece managers out there, with the exception of Paul Heyman.
Sure.
And there's a lot of guys out there who could benefit from a mouthpiece manager. But we'll get into that.
Sure. Yeah, we could digress all day into that one. Yep.
The next match is, for me, going to be one of the stealers of the show, which is the women's title match with Sasha and Charlotte.
It's a foregone conclusion to me that they're going to bring it. They're both going to bring it. They're just both going to bring it.
I mean, this might get into, Davey Boy, Bret Hart territory, or Bret Owen territory, or your Undertaker or Stone Cold match.
I think they're getting into their own territory.
Mm-hmm.
This is, we'll call it quite simply what it is. Charlotte, Sasha 2.
Right.
Because they're 2 mega powers at this point. Faced off once. Here comes part 2.
Yep.
It's so much and again, it's one to where you don't need a whole lot of hoaxy story. The excitement's there.
Right. And this might be more of a tip of a cap to Charlotte's dad, but this, for me, has a bit of a feel to it like Flair Steamboat.
Yeah, very much so. Just because they both have obvious, undeniable in-ring talent.
Bless you, by the way. Listen, you tried to cover that up, and now that's gross, dude. Come on. You got all kinds of snot stuff on your cardigan.
No, I didn't.
That bird just flew off your shirt because it thinks it's disgusting.
I blew my nose once. Get over it.
Sorry. Well, now you're doing it again? Come on, man.
Well, I could just sneeze all over everything. That would be simple.
This isn't my stuff. Our next match, boy, oh boy. We're like in like a sanitary room. What are you allergic to?
It must be mediocrity. I don't know.
I don't know what this is directed at, but
that door was posted mediocrely.
We got our next match, which is the U.S. title, which is Rusev versus Roman Reigns. If this match is anything comparable to the match that they had on Monday on Raw, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. The WWE, I think, is hoping that we're more readily able to digest Roman Reigns as the U.S. champion. You know what I mean? Kind of take a step back. It should be an okay match. I'm not overly excited, but I don't think they're going to tank the program.
No, not at all. I mean, for as much as people beat up on Roman, he's not untalented in the ring. It's just people felt that, like, there's this concept within wrestling that you've got to pay your dues before you get to anything. And
he is limited.
He is, but he's not as limited as people make him out to be. Is he a striker with a few big moves? Yes. Is he extremely strong? Yes. Is he very athletic? Absolutely, he's very athletic. But
right.
he's not one-dimensional in the ring. He's maybe bi-dimensional in the ring.
Sure.
And I understand where folks would kind of be like, hesitant towards Roman Reigns, but I think the backlash more so came from he didn't pay his dues, you can't be world champ kind of thing.
I think it was more of him being pushed so quickly.
I agree. No, I agree. They felt that the push came a little bit too soon for Roman. I agree.
We mentioned that before. WWE fans do not like to get something shoved down their throat like that, and he was definitely shoved down their throats. So that's a lot of the backlash is people were like, oh, man, here comes the next Cena. So they were very much against it. But he has some in-ring talent. What he does not have is savvy. Mm-hmm. And that'll come with age. That'll come with wisdom. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of wasted movement. But he'll get there. For
sure. And now we get into the meat, the part of the show that I think is going to make this particular SummerSlam one to remember for a lot of years. And it's kicking off with John Cena versus AJ Styles. Not a title match, but it feels like it should be a title match.
Sure.
I think this match hopefully has the makings of what's going to put Styles on the WWE map.
Right. It's a good match for all the guys that have come from an untraditional route. Mm-hmm. Because right now, I could see how you would think, well, I would have had to be homebred to really get that push. You know what I mean?
Right.
He can show this Sunday that you don't have to be homebred.
Right.
As long as you are uniquely qualified and talented and you've got this skill set, you can come in and be dealt with respectfully. Mm-hmm. And become an integral part of the company.
For sure.
He has a chance to show that, yes, we can come in and learn your style quickly and pull off a great match on the highest platform to your specifications. I love everything about this because it's bigger than a title. That's why there's no title involved. This is about a way of life, if you will. Mm-hmm. This is about where you come from. This is about how it is you take the road to get to WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. This is about the legitimacy of the indies, the independents. This is about the legitimacies of wrestling in places like TNA. This is about the legitimacy of Japan. Mm-hmm. People are like, what do you mean legitimate? Obviously, Japan's legit. Yes, but I mean, in terms of melting into the WWE universe, there's a lot riding here. So I think it's going to be an excellent match. It will surpass the hype. I think John Cena is going to go back and give a firsthand, astounding report of what AJ Styles can do in the ring. I think they're going to take off any of the harnesses and let these two go. And they're going to produce, man. You got two big old bucks in there, and they're going to produce.
You've been hanging around Jim Ross lately? Got some big old bucks in there. By God. By God.
It's going to stomp a mud hole and walk it dry.
But as much crap as John Cena gets as far as burying people and everything like that, he's really a good dude, and I think you're right. I think after this match is done, he's going to go back to whomever makes the decisions for real and say, like, hey, this is what my thoughts are on AJ. Here's how our match went. Blah, blah. I think he's going to give him a good review to whoever it matters.
And I think AJ knows what's at stake here. He will deliver. He'll deliver.
Next match is for the WWE World Title, Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler. We started touching on this a little bit when we talked about SmackDown. I think this is going to be a phenomenal match. Ziggler, for me, I know a lot of folks are kind of on the fence about Ziggler in general, but for me, he's one of the top performers right now. He's got this innate ability to draw you in and suck you into the moment in a match. Like, for example, the Survivor Series match when Sting came out and distracted everybody and Team Cena got the win and so on and so forth. Like, I'm not at that point. I wasn't really a Ziggler fan, but he had me on my feet the entire time. He's got that ability to just draw you in and get you pumped.
He will do that on Sunday, and I think it'll be a lot of near falls. I'm expecting Ambrose to retain the title, but not without a complicated kind of a match. We may even get somebody come down and interfere to set up some other program for Ziggler if they're not going to let these two do it one more time. But good place for him.
Yeah.
Again, the brand split was something that was positive for him, for a lot of wrestlers like him, and it's another opportunity to shine.
Right.
As mentioned on SmackDown, the fumbling with the mic, that was a kind of a little bit of a setback, but I think that he is going to make up for it this Sunday. He's going to deliver in the ring and keep himself prevalent in that picture. So,
and I think,
but I smell some Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? And I don't know who it's for. I don't know if this is going to be more for Bray versus Ambrose or it's going to be Bray versus Ziggler or whatever. But I smell it.
I agree that Ambrose is going to come out on top and retain, not because he should, but because he has to, in the sense that Ambrose retaining adds further legitimacy to him having taken the belt from Seth and retained it against Seth and Roman.
Sure.
So for him to drop it immediately in his first title defense against somebody other than those two, be like, well, what the hell were you doing? Why did you put it on him to begin with? Why didn't you just, why did it matter? So he has to, quote unquote, beat Ziggler. Unfortunately for Ziggler.
Yeah. And
I think I hadn't thought about it before, but now that you bring it up, I definitely do think we will see a Bray Wyatt appearance in this match, probably in an attempt to get in Ambrose's head and restart that program they had a year ago or so.
Sure.
And there'll probably be a world title program between them two coming.
If not some triple threat or something. I mean, they're dancing around it here.
Right. Well, they definitely are because there was a number one contenders match, or Ziggler defended his number one contendership against Bray Wyatt.
Right.
And he came out on top. Our next match, and I'm almost surprised that this is not the main event. We've got Finn Balor and Seth Rollins for the new title is starting.
So this is an important match because I think
Raw needs a world title.
Well, and not only does Raw need a world title, but this could potentially be the biggest title in the company just because Raw is still the flagship brand. You know what I mean? So the world title is on SmackDown right now, but we don't know how highly regarded this world title is going to be taken on Raw, i.e., is it going to overshadow the current world title? If that's the case, the implications for this match are that it's going to be the top guy. You know what I mean? On the A1 show. So a lot on the line for both guys here. I think things are lined up for Seth Rollins, but I don't know.
And that's what I love is that, logic has me leaning towards Seth, but there's still that seed of doubt that, Balor's the biggest draw right now from NXT to WWE, and they might put it on him. You never know.
So to me, it also brings into question the tandem there. Question of how big is the belt going to be, i.e., does it overshadow the existing world title, and is that still going to be the case if you give it to Finn Balor? Do you understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
How legitimate, like where does it lie based off of the result, basically, in terms of importance?
And here's the thing. This is different than the brand split that happened before, because you were dealing with 2 established titles. You were dealing with the WWE title and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
So I think we're venturing into dangerous waters here when you talk about a new title and a new wrestler, if you will, or a new personality, if you will.
And we mentioned before that sometimes the wrestler makes the belt.
Sure.
And here, with this title having not been worn by anybody before, this title's first appearance, depending on who it goes to, could make or break this title before it's even made.
It's something to think about. It's something to consider.
This is a tough decision. I mean, obviously, Seth was accepted as a world champion, so he's a safe bet.
Right.
People like Balor, so it might work, but if he ends up being a flop after people, the Demon, all right, cool, whatever.
Sure.
If he ends up being any sort of like a flop character-wise, it could kill the belt before it even starts.
It's a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so that's what makes that dicey, and that's why you should be thinking about that in the back of your head as you watch that match. It's a little added level of excitement. Ramp it up for you there. Yep.
And then the main event of the evening is our finisher porn that we were talking about before. It's Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Quick, go. Over, under 5 RKOs.
Over.
Over? Wow.
Over.
You're going, not even a push.
No,
You're going
over.
Wow.
There's got to be more than 5 RKOs.
Wow.
Definitely.
Over, under 3 F5s.
Push. Yep.
Okay. So we're looking at a total of, 9 finishers?
I'm thinking.
Holy headaches. Well, if you're looking for finisher porn, 9 finishers will do it for you. That's without a question.
It's either going to be that, or it'll just be like a classic match where it's just like one finisher. You know what I mean? It could just be like the 1 RKO or the 1 F5. But I just the way that they've been presenting it, it just doesn't seem like it's going to shape up that way.
Gotcha. And I agree. And let's play a game here. What type of RKO are we going to see?
Oh, I couldn't even begin to entertain that, man. I wouldn't even touch that. He could pull it out from anywhere. And again, it's one of the things I like about that move, but boy, you'd be here all day long trying to figure it out.
I think we're getting one out of an F5.
Ooh.
I think we're getting one out of an F5.
That'd be interesting.
It's
happen. Doable.
We're getting one out of an F5.
Doable,
I would almost guarantee it.
Hopefully there's somewhere practicing that.
And I think we're going to get an F5 out of an RKO. Randy's going to go for the RKO. Brock will catch him, flip him up. Boom. F5.
You know what? It's just an added layer of excitement for this match. I know it's going to be better than even what I'm thinking. So I'll sit back and just be surprised either way.
It's going to be an awesome match. Yep. And I guarantee you, like as far as the feel-out part in the beginning of the match, guarantee you both guys are going to try and go for their finisher early, and they're going to wriggle out. There's going to be about a minute or two of them trying to get their finishers early, just because that's the whole premise of the match is RKO versus F5, Randy versus Brock Lesnar. So you're going to have a little bit of that to start off.
Maybe get a little bit of that. Oh my God, he kicked out of the
RKO.
Where does Randy go from here?
Right.
Sure.
And it's kind of interesting that Brock was in the main event here on SummerSlam, because there was one topic that we wanted to touch on, and we're getting a little bit short on time. So I think it works out pretty well that we're finishing off the SummerSlam preview before we go into this next topic. And since this was one you wanted to chat about, I'll let you intro it for us.
So, yeah, we will briefly just touch on it here because it is that important. But I did want to take a little bit of time and talk about the PED situation in the WWE currently. We have what now has grown to be a bevy. I don't think we're at a plethora yet, but we have a bevy of superstars who are getting busted. So this week, who do we add to the group this week? We have
I think Eva got pinched.
Eva Marie and Alberto Del Rio.
Alberto makes me sad.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is kind of what I wanted to get off of my chest. I think the WWE gets a pass for this kind of stuff all the time. I mean, even if we go back to the Brock Lesnar stuff, I mean, so
He's main eventing SummerSlam.
right, and he was just popped by the UFC, and not only did he test positive when he was in pre-fight training, but he also tested positive that evening apparently, and so part of the reason why he was granted the only ever exemption from like pre-fight, training, having to submit test samples was because he was counteracting that I'm already under WWE, protocol. So I'm submitting, samples to them. I don't think that I should have to also submit samples to you guys at the same time. If I'm positive here, I'm positive there, The only person to ever get around this part of the process, if you will. So legitimacy of the WWE in terms of how they deal with these PED situations has to be talked about based off that right there. Based off the fact that they have a terrible track record too, going back to the the pre-attitude eras, like the early 90s, the late 80s, a lot of rampant steroid use in the WWE, WWF at the time, and Vince himself has certainly dealt with some legality issues in terms of PEDs in the workplace. So with all of that being said, I guess what I'm struggling with is at this day and age in 2016, when you hear about your guys getting busted, why there's not a more of a disassociation from that person and more of a punishment type stance, considering all the scrutiny you've been under in the past.
Right.
And what I mean by that more specifically is, let's take the Roman Reigns scenario. We made it public, used it as part of the story, no less. But then, I mean, so how's he punished? I mean, these guys have a grueling schedule.
Right.
That's a friggin' vacation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's 30 days off right there. So to me, I just didn't see how the way it played out stopped somebody from doing it.
Right.
Because
there wasn't like a fine or anything to my knowledge.
And even if there was, it's beside the point that he still got to come back and main event. You know what I mean? That's the real problem right here, is that it wasn't made clear to him that we're not going to stand.
Accepted.
Yes, that's right. We sacrificed that, opportunity to have the triple threat match between the Shield. So that's where I'm at with it. It's something that is kind of getting under my skin just a little bit, because I feel like they're walking a very tight line at a time where they don't need to.
Right.
You're getting exposure from places like we just talked about, like ESPN and stuff like that. Don't murk the waters right here.
Right.
Let's just kind of play by the rules. So I look at the latest list of people, and I wonder how much of this is reactionary versus the fact that Roman didn't have anything happen to him. Or is this just an issue going on? Is it just randomly now that some people are getting busted? I mean, are they ramping up the testing? I mean, a lot of questions. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't bode well to have this be an ongoing thing after it was just made so public.
Right.
And it all seems disgusting.
And I think the timing couldn't have been worse for the WWE. Like you mentioned, they're starting to become bedfellows with ESPN and SportsCenter a little bit.
Brock's on the cover of the new video.
Yeah. And this type of image is not what ESPN's partnered with Disney. Does Disney really want?
They'll just walk away from you.
Yeah.
So
they don't need you.
Right.
I know you don't technically need them either.
Right.
But ESPN was like, well, it's been a pleasure, Vince. Take your pills and we'll see you later.
Right. I mean, you should have moved past this at this point, because it's what you were known for at one point, and it just is really disappointing to me that they haven't made a stronger effort to get past this point in their lives.
I agree.
Or maybe they have. Maybe we're just not cutting them enough slack. Obviously, we're not in the day-to-day operations. I don't know, but just me personally, I'd be concerned, and I'd be coming out with some statements, and there would definitely be some clear consequences and repercussions to that right there.
And I'm sorry to make you chuckle on such a serious issue. I apologize. I pressed the easy button on Ralph. I apologize on that one.
Damn you. There's so many of them.
This actually brings us to the end of our second episode. And I think with our little banter on the PED side of stuff, I think it's a good transition into airing our grievances.
Airing of the grievances.
Since you're already rolling, Ralph, I'll let you go.
I don't have a lot of grievances to air. I will say this. I have a small, minute one. So, I've recently moved into the city, so I'm North Sider now, but couldn't get me to root against the White Sox to save my life. But what I will say is, So it's a big weekend for the city. We had the Air and Water show going on. Now, if you live down in the area, it's pretty cool. You can actually go anywhere along Lakeshore Drive and just kind of stand about and hang about and watch the Air and Water show as it's, taking place on the lake there. But a consequence of that is, so the Michigan Avenue beach right there, you know how Lakeshore Drive curves. It's like a funky 45-degree curve, and you've got to really slow down and things like that. And there's even a caution barrier up there, right? So today what you have are individuals watching the show, even all along that barrier on Lakeshore Drive right there. And what I saw today were people sitting on it. And what I saw today were kids sitting on that barrier. There are cars zooming by so fast right there. Like, dude, don't let your kids sit on the shoulder of Lakeshore Drive on one of the busiest Saturdays of the year. Like, just have a little bit more forethought. That's my grievance. I've aired it out.
My grievance, I forgot the one that I was going to mention when we first came in. Perhaps while I'm giving my other grievance, you can remind me of what that grievance was, and I'll grieve about it. But my grievance is meetings everywhere, and not enough time to even think about what I met about.
Can I change mine to yours? Oh, my goodness. Meetings.
No joke, man. This week it's been get off work, go to the gym, go to a meeting, go to another meeting about that meeting, go home, go to work, go to a meeting about that meeting, and it's just like, and then, I got to call Ralph to get ready for the show. Oh, they call, hey, Ralph. I've got my my groceries with me, which that's my other grievance. Is you took 2 darn trips to bring your groceries inside.
That's right. I did. I took 2 trips.
Who does
get
that?
over it. You know why? Because, again, I'm in the city. There's no more plastic bags like you suburbanites there.
You hear that? You hear that sound by chance? You hear what that sound is? It's the world's smallest violin playing the world's saddest song for you.
And incidentally, I couldn't think of your other grievance. I usually never listen to you, so I couldn't tell you what it was.
I'm gonna cut you. I'm gonna cut you, and that's not. Would you mind telling our 2 listeners where they can catch our podcast? Well, one of the places is on good old YouTube. We actually have a YouTube channel that we made. It's the Undisputed Podcast.
Listen, guys, if you like us, go like it, okay?
Yep.
If you hate us, go like it,
yeah,
okay?
Sure.
I mean, go there, tell us what it is that you want to hear. Maybe we can, kind of, if there's somebody out there who's listening regularly, we'd like your one and only input.
For sure, for sure.
So let us know, man, if there's some stuff you guys want to hear, or if there's a cool segment that you think we can pull off. Just put it in there, of course, and we'll be happy to. Or if you just want to say hey, that's fine too. Largely able to say hey back.
Right. And we're gonna be in every podcast medium for you where you can download us, so iTunes, everywhere. But
air your grievances on YouTube.
Exactly. YouTube's going to be the best place for you to leave your comments, air your grievances.
Do we have an email for them to air their grievances?
We do.
What's
it's,
the email?
let me pull that up here real quick. It is the Undisputed Podcast at gmail.com. So you can use that to just say, hey, like Ralph was saying, you can email us in your grievances. We'll share them for you next week, or next show, I should say. If you want, eventually we mentioned we're going to have a segment on the show called The Dream Match, where we'll have either a match between a current wrestler and a past wrestler, or 2 past wrestlers who never fought that should have. You can email us in your suggestions for the dream match. We'll put that together. You can email us, tell us that you don't like us, tell us where we should be sharing our podcast, or if we should be checking out, hey, go check out this indie group here in Chicago. They're really good. Just give us your feedback, because not only is this our show, it's your show. We're doing this for you guys.
And to that point, a big shout out to Tom Nestor. Thank you. I work with him, him and his son have taken a listen to the podcast, and he's given me some pretty cool notes as well. So thank you very much for listening, Tom.
I thought I was just kidding when I said we had 2 listeners. I was spot on. This is
you
phenomenal.
were. There you go.
Awesome. This is great. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure here this week. So we broke down SummerSlam, Raw, SmackDown, talked about the PEDs a little bit. Hopefully you guys can join in with us on our next episode, which should be roughly 2 weeks from now. We're doing about every other week right now, and perhaps as we build some momentum, we'll be doing every week. But we hope that you guys can join Ralph and myself again. Remember, easiest way to do it is on YouTube, but we will be available in every podcast medium for you right here on The Undisputed.